to study. I'm going to give you some information, folks, to aid you in your research of this travesty. The names of the significant reports are, and write these down. Write these down. I hope you're taping this program, as you should be taping every single episode of the Hour of the Time. The only hour that ever was or ever will be, or that ever is, the hour during which you're going to decide your future, and thus our collective futures. Write this down. The names of the significant reports are: number 1, The Population Bomb by Dr. Paul R. Ehrlich. Dr. Ehrlich's wife, Anne, is a member of the Club of Rome, and that's why you continue to see Dr. Ehrlich and his wife, Anne, in documentaries on the public PBS TV stations and on public radio, touting population control. They were in it from the first. Number 2, the Global 2000 Report to the President, signed by President Carter. And number 3, The Limits to Growth, a report for the Club of Rome's project on the predicament of mankind. Let me go over that once more for you. The Population Bomb by Dr. Paul R. Ehrlich. It's spelled E-H-R-L-I-C-H. Number 2, the Global 2000 Report to the President, a very thick report signed by President Carter. And number 3, The Limits to Growth, which was a report for the Club of Rome's project on the predicament of mankind. In April 1968, the study began publicly in the Accademia dei Lincei in Rome, Italy. The study had been ongoing in secret ever since the initial findings of the Huntsville meeting in 1957. They met at the instigation of Dr. Aurelio Pacelli. The first real public indication of their findings and the solution that had been decided upon was publication of the book called The Population Bomb in May of 1968. Notice how close the dates are. On page 17 of The Population Bomb, a telling paragraph reveals all that there is to know. Listen very carefully. Quote, in summary, the world's population will continue to grow as long as the birth rate exceeds the death rate. It's as simple as that. When it stops growing or starts to shrink, it will mean that either the birth rate has gone down or the death rate has gone up, or a combination of the two. Basically, then, there are only two kinds of solutions to the population problem. One is a birth rate solution, in which we find ways to lower the birth rate. The other is a death rate solution, in which ways to raise the death rate, war, famine, pestilence, find us. Listen to this last sentence, because this is the one that tells you what the decision was. Quote, the population could have been avoided by population control, in which mankind consciously adjusted the birth rate so that a death rate solution did not have to occur. That is a confession telling you that their decision was that the lowering of the birth rate was not successful, and that they had to increase the death rate. The recommendations of the results of the study were made by Dr. Aurelio Pacelli, who pledged not to use the prophylactic but not to take the cure should the microbe be developed and should he contract the disease. Dr. Pacelli was considered a hero for deciding to take the same risk as the general population when he did not have to. The public results of the study were published in 1968 and again in 1972. The MIT project team members from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology that developed the computer model study are as follows. Dr. Dennis L. Meadows, Director, United States. Dr. Allison A. Anderson, United States, on population. Dr. J. M. Anderson, United States, also on population. Ilyas Bayer, Turkey, agriculture. William W. Behrens III, United States, resources. Farhad Hakimzadeh, Iran, population. Dr. Stephen Harbort, Germany, socio-political trends. Wouldn't you know they'd put a German in to represent socio-political trends? Judith A. Machen, United States, administration. Dr. Danella H. Meadows, United States, population. Peter Milling, Germany, capital. For those of you who don't understand capital, it means money. Nirmala S. Murphy, India, population. Roger F. Nail, United States, resources. Jorgen Randers, Norway, population. Stephen Shanses, United States, agriculture. John A. Seeger, United States, administration. Marilyn Williams, United States, documentation. Dr. Eric K. O. Zahn, Germany, agriculture. You see, folks, you don't hear this anywhere else, and you're never going to hear it anywhere else. And I name names, and I know what I'm talking about. As Pogo once said, I have found the enemy, and he is us. When the study was completed in 1969, the United Nations Secretary General, UTHANT, of the United Nations made this statement. Quote, I do not wish to seem overdramatic, but I can only conclude from the information that is available to me as Secretary General that the members of the United Nations have perhaps 10 years left in which to subordinate their ancient quarrels and launch a global partnership to curb the arms race, to defuse the population explosion, and to supply the required momentum to develop efforts. If such a global partnership is not forged within the next decade, then I very much fear that the problems I have mentioned will have reached such staggering proportions that they will be beyond our capacity to control. Unquote. Project MK Naomi was developed by the Special Operations Division scientists at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under the supervision of the Central Intelligence Agency. A reference to the Project MK Naomi can be found in the Intelligence Community. That's the name of a book, The Intelligence Community, by Fain et al., published by Bowker in 1977. This might make some of you angry, but as you heard last night, I don't give a damn. Lieutenant Colonel James Bogreitz was a member of the Special Operations Division of the Department of Defense. He was also the commander of the United States Special Forces in Latin America. He was the principal agent for the National Security Council's super-secret intelligence support activity called ISA, which hatched the illegal groups known as Yellow Fruit and Sea Spray, and the Congressional Relations Chief for the Pentagon. Lieutenant Colonel Greitz claims he didn't know of any illegalities in the military or in the government or the intelligence community until he was told by a drug lord in a third world nation. I'm sorry, folks, but I am not that easily duped. I'm not stupid. I recommend that we watch this man very carefully. There is a very, very slim chance that Greitz is legitimate, but I don't believe it, not for a long shot. And I would never, ever in a million years put my life in his hands, nor the life of my country. And I'm going to tell you right now, whatever he is doing, he is not, this year or any other year, ever going to be elected President of the United States of America. Lowell Sumner expressed his view, quote, "As a biologist, the human population explosion and its declining spiral of natural resources is to me the greatest threat of all. The time is ripe, even dangerously overripe as far as the population control problem is concerned. We shall have to face up or ultimately perish, and what a dreary, stupid, unlovely way to perish on a ruined globe stripped of its primeval beauty." Unquote. Many other population controls have been promulgated. The reduction of the world's population to workable levels has been virtually assured. It is only a matter of time. The problem will be to curtail further human reproduction beyond approved levels. To handle that problem, the New World Order will adopt the Communist Chinese model of population control. It is the only population control program that has ever worked. The old and infirm have been periodically murdered, and couples are forbidden to have more than one child. Penalties are so severe that families in China with 2 children are extremely rare. 3 children families are non-existent. A surprising byproduct is that Chinese children as a group are treated better than any other national grouping of children in the world, including the United States. Lowell Sumner expressed his view, quote, "As a biologist, the human population explosion and its declining spiral of natural resources is to me the greatest threat of all. The time is ripe, even dangerously overripe as far as the population control problem is concerned. We shall have to face up or ultimately perish, and what a dreary, stupid, unlovely way to perish on a ruined globe stripped of its primeval beauty." Unquote. Many other population controls have been promulgated. The reduction of the world's population to workable levels has been virtually assured. It is only a matter of time. Tobacco fields in the United States have been fertilized with the radioactive tailings from uranium mines, resulting in a tremendous increase in the incidence of lip, mouth, throat, and lung cancer. If you do not believe it, just look at the incidence of lung cancer per capita before 1950 and compare it to the lung cancer per capita at the present time. Are those who smoke committing suicide, or are they being murdered? Malathion, a nerve gas developed by the Nazis during World War II to kill people, is being sprayed heavily on population centers in California. The excuse used is that it will kill the Mediterranean fruit fly. But the tip-off, ladies and gentlemen, is that the orchards are not being sprayed, only people. The helicopters come from Evergreen in Arizona, a known government and a suspected CIA base, and now we have confirmed it. The pilots are contract pilots also furnished by Evergreen. Evergreen has been named as one of the bases where drugs are flown in from Central America. The city of Pasadena passed a law making it illegal to spray malathion within the city limits. The law was ignored, and the city took no action. When the people of California literally revolted against the spraying of malathion, the governor of California stated that he did not have the power to stop the operation. I ask you, what higher power is there that could prevent a governor of a state from halting the spraying of an insecticide? Think about it. A warning was issued to cover up automobiles and belongings because malathion could destroy paint, some plastics, and other property. People, they said, would not be injured. And I tell you now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a lie. Good night, and God bless you all.